Oh, thank you and good afternoon everyone, and I'm just conscious of time and thank you all for hanging in there. We're nearly there. But certainly in terms of my priorities at the moment, a successful transition post-CRC is number one. Hardwired into the participants agreement is that a lot of the products and IP out of programs 2 and 3, genetics and eating quality and the carcass work, is coming across to MLA. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to have a look at how that transition is happening. What does that mean for programs of work going forward? And ideally, setting up the structures that allow us to continue to work together and invest in large, longer-term programs of work that will make sure that we continue the legacy that the sheep CRC will leave behind. The first area that I'll talk about is genetics. I'll get on to eating quality and objective measurement. So from a genetics point of view, we're taking on the genomics databases. We're looking at how do we make sure that we continue the uninterrupted service for genotyping services, working with genotyping partners, working with the researchers, and within MLA, sheep genetics being part of MLA, becomes the single source of truth for breeding values. We won't be stepping into the commercial space of offering the genotyping services, however, we'll be maintaining and implementing those industry databases for the successful accuracy and underpinning the standards and quality systems around genotyping and giving the breeding value results in a consistent way so that we have a single source of truth. We then enable a competitive commercial environment. We also then have the opportunity for researchers to work collaboratively on future projects. And MLA in the middle of that, operating the sheep genetics business, will support that on both ends. So that's the way which we're going forward, and the assignments, we're working through those agreements as we speak. So that's all in really good shape, and I think that what that does is helps us then look forward and say, how do we then make sure we get the value out of all of the investment that has come through the sheep CRC in the area of genetics? And I'm also looking at this to say, how do we make sure we get value for the commercial sector? We're trying to double the annual rate of genetic gain by 2022, and the only way we'll do that is move and value genetics in the commercial space. Not only do we have to make genetic selection decisions, we have to breed them, feed them, finish them, and we have to meet a market specification. Where we're heading with the eating quality program is that's totally consumer driven. Our consumer insights will translate back into brand specifications, and you will start to see over time better price signals flowing back through the supply chain to produce the right animals. And eating quality is going to be a significant component of that. We then need to take that all the way back through our production system and make the right genetic selection decisions back at the start. We have the National Livestock Genetics Consortium as a skills-based task force overseeing and making recommendations on genetics investments. We have programs like the Livestock Productivity Partnership, the Animal Welfare Strategic Partnership, and we have the MSA beef and sheep industry task forces. That will help us make those investment decisions, but the supply chain group that has come out of the CRC has a fundamental role in making sure that we keep all of those investments on track. We can then have alignment across the whole supply chain for any future investments, and we have those investment vehicles to ensure that we have the right focus from an industry point of view on these big, important goals that we need to achieve as an industry. From an eating quality point of view, we have certainly seen significant uptake of the program. 26% of our lamb production is now presented for MSA grading. What's more important is that the percentage of those lambs being presented as MSA are now being packed in MSA licensed brands. There's 19 brands, 18 and 19 brands that are using MSA to underpin their offering into the trade, and that will continue to grow. We've got 31,000 producers who are now registered to supply MSA product. And whilst we have a pathways approach, as you've heard over the last 2 days, we have implemented significant change in reducing the variation in eating quality. But we can do a lot more, and the cuts-based model, as you know, I'm hearing a lot of demand for this out of the room, which is really great, and I agree with you. The model will be a game changer. We can identify that product that performs better than we can identify the premium product and capture more value from it. I don't think it will be used as a discounting tool. Lamb itself has a position in the market, and what we have the opportunity to do, if we can identify that premium product, we can use where we are today as a launching pad for where we go for those premium end products, identifying those consumers and customers around the world who are willing to pay more for it. And I'll talk about objective measurement in a minute, because as Dave Pethick outlined, we need the objective measurement tool to underpin the implementation, but we have the model is there, and the model has been delivered out of the CRC. And just so happens that consumers are willing to pay more for it. I just want to reinforce this point, that if we give consumers, we meet or exceed consumer expectations, they will pay more for it, up to double for a 5-star product over a 3-star product. I think that's very exciting, and we can find those customers who are servicing those consumers in the various markets we have around the world with improving market access conditions. Objective carcass measurement technology, that's been happening under a rural R&D for profit program. A lot of the technologies and the opportunities has come out of the CRC. There's a rebid at the moment for accessing further funds to continue that rural R&D for profit. And if that is not successful, given the need and the demand for objective measurement technologies by industry, we will find the money. We will make sure that we do. There's other sources of funds around the world. We have the MLA donor company opportunity. Levies that we've invested in the CRC get freed up after June. But there's other collaborators internationally. There's commercial dollars on the table. We have commercial partners in these projects, and they see the value themselves. So the worst case scenario is we end up doing MDC projects with individual companies, but we can share that information with the rest of industry, and we'll get the value proposition right for the uptake of these technologies. So working across quality, yield and animal health is absolutely fundamental. Some of the grading technologies are showing great promise, the hyperspectral camera, the image on the left, and some of the probe technologies that haven't worked. Some of the failures are just as important as the wins, because we've learnt along the way. We've failed fast, so we've made sure that we have tested these things very early with commercial supply chains, testing consumer responses, as well as having the objective measures in the labs to know whether these technologies work, and when they don't, we no longer invest. We know the success of DEXA driving automation, and just so happens, as Mark Inglis showed yesterday, that feedback will flow back to producers on lean meat yield. So it all starts to come together and underpinned by quality. And from my point of view, within 5 years, genomic testing will be cheaper, we've heard that today, and DNA testing will then become routine. We'll be breeding livestock with end market specs in mind. We'll be objectively measuring both on-farm and post-farm gate. Ideally, we end up then getting paid on the value of our production. And brand specifications will reflect the consumer requirements, will meet or exceed consumer expectations. They'll be able to buy product based on provenance, meal occasion, and we'll be linking those portions all the way back through to those live animals. It's not far away, it's happening. We have the investments in place, and I think we're in for a really exciting time for our industry.